Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Pacific Angler Friday Fishing Report. We're filming for the back end of August. I can't believe it's almost September, and September is a big month when it comes to fishing around BC. So if it's nowhere near September, click up here. This is a link to all the Friday Fishing Reports. We do it most weeks, so I should have something up to date for you. But if you're going to be fishing in September or October, you probably want to stay tuned for this one. We're going to look at a lot of the major fisheries over the next 2 months, what you guys can expect and how to plan for that. We're also going to look at fisheries right now because there's some big news coming up right around the corner, and that is we are expecting an opening on the 1st for saltwater Chinook. I want you to check your rigs because it's not official until DFO announced it, but all indications point to that opening coming. We're going to go over how to get prepared, what you want to look in the way of lures and bait, as well as we're going to take a peek at the tides and see what's coming for that first so you guys can be prepared. We're also going to look at a sort of a State of the Union pink number address. They've released some mid-season numbers. Now the numbers aren't great, but they are better than forecast, and we're hoping that will lead to some opportunities in the valley where the fish are moving up right now. And I've got a Squamish update because the fishing has been better. The river has cleared a bit. I'm also going to talk briefly about beach fishing because Andre's been sending in reports. There's pinks off the beaches, and that's something worth looking at. Something we hadn't had great reports of up until now. On the fisheries side of things, we're going to look at the Harrison, we're going to look at the Vedder, we're going to look at the trout fishing because September is a fabulous time to get out to the rivers and do a last kick at trout fishing. We're also going to talk about the interior because September and October is one of the best times to get lake fishing. They stock all our local lakes and the interior gets cool and all those big trout need to put on weight for the winter and things really pick up. We're going to look at the long-term forecast to see when that should start happening, and if you guys are a lake fisherman, you want to stay tuned for that one. As always, guys, you want to see more reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into her. All right, guys, cheers to Friday. Thanks for the beer, by the way. You know who dropped it off. We much appreciate it. Let's get right into it with the weather because that's always a good place to start when you're thinking about planning a fishing trip. Oop, there's my tides. Let's go Vancouver. And you can see we've got perfect fishing weather. What do I mean by perfect fishing weather? Well, you don't want it too hot. You don't want it too cold. You don't want it too rainy. You don't want it too sunny. Kind of right in the middle. We see right now, as you guys are watching, a little bit of rain, maybe 1 mil, 19, and some sun. Perfect. 21 on the weekend, 21 Saturday and Sunday with a touch of cloud. We've got some rain on Monday, 1 millimeter, but not too much, which is also good. And then rolling into next week, it's fairly similar. 19 degrees, cloud, sun with touches of rain here and there. So that bodes well right across the board for all the fisheries that we talked about. Now, the other one to look at is wind. There's nothing major in the wind forecast right now. It's sort of 15, 10, 11, 8, that kind of thing. It's very important if you're a saltwater angler to check the weather the night before, even the morning of as you're going out. Links down in the description to the marine forecasts that we all look at when we're getting out that way. But at least on the long-term trend, it looks like it should be good. Now, roll it out to the valley. Because they're going to see very similar things. A little bit more rain as you guys are watching on Friday, which bodes well for the rivers, keeping those rivers cool. We've also got 23, 23, 17, 19. Again, that's perfect. There's a little maybe bump of rain coming Wednesday at 5 mils. And like I said, this is great. The rivers have been low, and the more a little bit of rain and sort of temperate weather we get, the better it is for the Fraser and the migration of the fish coming up the Fraser. We want to keep the water at a safe level for them to get through areas. We also want to keep it at a cool level so they don't overheat. Good news on that front. Now, Kamloops. This is where you interior lake fishermen should be looking. This is the 14-day trend. This is what I pull up first. And it's going to be hovering, the evening temperatures are going to be hovering right around the seasonal average. So that means that we'll start seeing opportunities in early September. And if this holds seasonal norms, it's usually mid-September to the back end of September when things get really good. And you can fish it right to ice on, or at least until it gets so cold that the ice is starting to form. Usually then things do shut down. But it's an excellent fishery. A lot of people have gone home from their cabins. You might be able to rent a beautiful cabin back end of the season when no one's out in lake country. Sterling's got a detailed report on what to expect, some flies, some stuff to consider when you are planning a lake trip in September or October. All right, what else I got for you guys? Well, let's quickly talk about the Squamish. because she's been good, and I will talk about saltwater fishing in a sec. Squamish has gotten better. It's gotten clearer. We've heard a lot less reports of guys snagging fish, which is great. Again, I'm going to reiterate what I said last week, and that is if you're new to the fishery and you're on a spot and you snag a fish, and you snag another fish, and then you snag another fish, it is the angler's responsibility to first off change your gear, get lighter. Lighten up your sink tip. Use a clear intermediate sink tip. If you're gear fishing, shorten that float up, or just don't drag the spoon quite as deep. If it keeps happening, it's your responsibility to move. You snag 3 or 4 or 5, God forbid, 10 fish in a row, you need to move. You need to change something. Why? Because mouth-hooked fish have a much lower mortality rate than body-hooked fish, as well as the optics for the fishery. It's very easy to get a fishery closed down if it's perceived that this is happening because snagging is illegal. So don't be the guy that gets this fishery shut down. It is good right now, and it is well worth going. Also, the other fishery to consider if you don't want to deal with crowds on the lower rivers is you can go to the upper rivers and trout fish. It is open for trout fishing, and it's one of my favorite things this time of year. Why? Because those pinks have come in and they've brought their eggs and all the egg eaters with them. Definitely worth looking at. The reports I've got are excellent. I personally plan to get out for that. I've caught a lot of pinks in my life. I don't need to catch too many more, but I love catching big bull trout and rainbows that are feeding on the eggs. Another fishery we want to touch base on is the Skagit and the Thompson, our local trout fisheries. September is an awesome time for that. The second the night gets cold, we start getting day hatches because those bugs know that winter's coming. You see hatches sometimes right throughout the day, but I really look at 10 o'clock and I look at 3, 4 o'clock. That's usually when we see the majority of the bugs coming off in the cooler time of year. And so that's nice because as you guys know, 2-3 weeks ago when we had the heat, almost all of the hatching was happening almost at night, and that meant you had to stay really late. So it's definitely worth a kick at the can. I always actually love combining it, maybe do an early salmon trip and then kick on out for some trout fishing. With an early salmon trip in mind, we've got to talk about the Harrison system. You want to start looking at it soon. It's not there yet, but we should see chum and pink soon, and make sure you watch your regulations because they have to open those for salmon fishing as they come. But I expect numbers to be decent with what I'm seeing in the numbers that are coming through the Fraser. So let's just pull that up right now because they did a sockeye and pink assessment. And though the news is not great, I'm not going to lie, the numbers are low. We can see it right here. I'll put it up here so you guys can get some details. They were forecasting 3,009,000 pinks this season. Right now, their estimation run size is going to be 4 million. So that's above what they were estimating. Now, overall, this is a super low number. Good years hover in the 12+ million range, so you can tell that that's a problem. But at least from what we're seeing Squamish way, it looks like the numbers are okay that way. They don't have proper gauges when it comes to the numbers of fish going Squamish. They sort of see in season, and I'm hopeful to look at those numbers, but I haven't seen them yet. And then when we look at sockeye, we do see better numbers than forecast, but not much better. It looks like the early Stewart fish did okay, and it looks like the early summer component was a touch higher than they forecast, but overall the forecasts were really bad, so that's not good news. Also on the bad news fisheries scale, there's something to keep on your radar, and that is that I've been hearing rumors that there might be some steelhead closures. I don't have details yet. It's a big one. The numbers are really bad right across the West Coast all the way down to the States. And it's something that we got to pay attention to. I'm going to try to have more information as it comes down the pipe. But bottom line is sign up to be a member of the Steelhead Society. Links down below. If you love steelhead, if you've ever wanted to catch a steelhead, we are in fairly dark times with the numbers we're seeing on this season, and expect more news shortly. All right, all doom gloom aside, I've a good one for you. I should have put this in the front end of the report, but a customer/viewer emailed me in. He said he found a net on the Skagit. He said a bunch of love had obviously gone into making the net, and he wanted to see if he could get it back to the owner. So I'm gonna put a picture of it up here. If this is your net, my email's down in the links in the description. Email me with maybe like a little bit of a descriptor to sort of prove that it's yours, and I'll put you in contact with the guy that found it, and you guys can get that sorted out. There's nothing like good fishing karma when it comes to this stuff. I don't know how many times I've left a net or a fly box or something on the side of a river. It's great to see guys making an effort to get it back to its rightful home. All right, that's everything I've got for you this week. I'm going to put that coho leader video up again if you guys want to see it. I think Andre had a fly. I didn't talk about it. I'll throw that up here as well. As always, you want to see more reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to catch you in 2 weeks.